After completing this unit, the students will be able to learn these objectives. The learners will be able to understand the significance of national planning. The learners will be able to explain different stages of planning process in India. The learners will be able to critically comment on the socio-economic and political dimensions of planning in India. Introduction. Planning is a process under which a central authority defines a set of targets related to growth and development of the country to be achieved within a specified period of time, keeping in view the needs and means of the society. It refers to a system under which a central planning authority sets a set of targets and specifies as set of programs and policies to achieve those targets within the specified period of time. The economy of India is based on planning through its 5-year plans developed, executed and monitored by the Planning Commission. With the Prime Minister as the ex officio chairman, the Commission has a nominated deputy chairman who has a rank of cabinet minister. The principal task of the Planning Commission is to formulate the 5-year plan and annual plans for the most of effective and balanced utilization of the country's material, capital and human resources. Appraise from time to time the progress in the implementation and recommended adjustments of policy and measures that are considered to be necessary in the light of such appraisal. From 1947 to 2017, the India was premised on the concept of planning. India launched the year plan for rapid growth. Planning had the following long-term goals: growth, modernization, self-reliance and social justice. This was carried through the 5-year plans developed, executed and monitored by the Planning Commission in 1951 to 2014 and the NITI, National Institution for Transforming India (Ayog) 2014 to 2017. With the Prime Minister as the ex officio chairman, the Commission has a nominated deputy chairman who holds the rank of a cabinet minister. Montek Singh Ahluwalia was the last deputy chairman of the Commission, resigned on 26 May 2014. The 12th plan completed its term in March 2017. Stages of the process of planning in India. Process of planning in India takes place in 3 steps: formulating the plan, its implementation and evaluation. Over the years and due to the political pressures, 2 new aspects have been added to the process, namely decentralization and popular participation. These are briefly discussed below. Formulation. The formulation of the development is the first stage of the economic planning. At the top, Planning Commission formulates a draft plan in consultation with the various ministries or economic councils. Similarly, from the bottom, individual perspective plans on the basis of past experiences and future requirements is prepared. The Planning Commission assesses the balances of technical possibilities, recommendations, suggestions and requirements in the light of reports given by 2 agencies, one from the top and other from the bottom. The final draft is a comprehensive, coherent and a well-knit document. The detailed process is given below. A. Perspective targeting. The first stage is the consideration of the general approach to the formulation of the 5-year plans. This begins about 3 years in advance of the commencement of the plan and involves an examination of the state of the economy, identification of its social, economic and institutional weaknesses and appraisal of past trends in the production and rate of growth in relation to long-term view of the progress of the economy. Attempts are made also to suggest the directions in which during the period of the plan imbalances must be corrected or more intensive efforts ensured. Preliminary conclusions on these and related aspects submitted by the Planning Commission to the Cabinet at the Centre and to the National Development Council, a body presided over by the Prime Minister of India and composed of Union Cabinet Ministers, Chief Ministers of States and members of the Planning Commission. At this stage, no attempt is made to suggest magnitudes of the plan. This awaits the fuller study which has yet to be undertaken. The phase of deliberations lead to preliminary indications on the part of the National Development Council of the rate of growth to be assumed for the next plan and objectives and considerations which should receive a special emphasis. Planning Commission lays down tentatively certain general goals for the long term, that is for 15 to 20 years. After making a careful analysis of technical possibilities, the basic and non-basic needs of the economy and various methods of development. These goals may be or not be explicated, but against their background only are broad targets for a 5-year plan formulated. B. Formulation of guidelines. The 5-year targets are given provisional guidelines by a member of working groups created for each important sector. These groups comprise specialists, economists and administrators in the central ministries and the Planning Commission. They formulate targets for their respective sectors, keeping their needs and resources in view. The Planning Commission also seeks suggestions from the state and union territory governments on the structure of their respective plans. The state consists studies in great detail, which are intended to lead to the consideration of 5-year plan. The interrelationships and broader dimensions of the plan are studied within the Planning Commission. While these studies proceed, the Planning Commission constitutes a series of working groups composed of its own specialists and those of the ministries concerned at the centre to ensure greater participation, while the groups are expected to report to the Planning Commission and to function on its behalf. Frequently, senior officials from the ministers and more often the permanent heads serve as a chairman of group, and a considerable part of the technical study in each field is undertaken by experts in the ministries and the technical organizations associated with them. The working groups reviews the performance of the economy in their respective fields, assesses progress in achieving the policy objectives outlined in the current and proceeding plans, and point out deficiencies which may have been observed. From time to time, the working groups raise questions as to the assumptions to be made in the formulation of further plans, and on these Planning Commission is expected to provide the necessary guidance. As the working groups at the centre begin their work, state governments are also advised to constitute similar working groups of their own, and arrangements are made for the working groups at the centre in the states to be informal contact with one another. The main object of the working group in states is to try to build up a picture of the development plan of each state. In several sectors, while the expert working groups undertake their studies, the Planning Commission constitutes panels composed of leading experts and workers drawn mainly from outside the government to advise on the broader aspects of policy and approach towards the formulation of the plan in their respective fields. The Planning Commission take the assistance of a panel of economists, a panel of scientists and panel of agriculture, land reform, education, health, housing and social welfare. The working groups constituted by the Planning Commission studies financial resources, agriculture, irrigation, power, steel, fuel, general education, technical education, scientific research, health and family planning, housing and urban and rural planning and welfare of backward classes. The working groups on resources remains concerned with the estimation of financial resources both external and internal, and resources for the public sector as well as private sector and include officials from the Planning Commission, the Ministry of Finance and Reserve Bank of India. C. Preparation of the approach paper. The approach paper is prepared on the basis of preliminary exercises undertaken in the Planning Commission, projecting the growth profile of the economy over a period of 15 to 20 years, including the ensuring of 5-year plan period. On the basis of the reports of the working groups, state governments and union territories, the Planning Commission prepares an approach paper for the 5-year plan. It is a brief document broadly outlining the goals to be achieved during the proposed 5-year plan period. It is based on the documents prepared by various working groups and a steering committee. For providing an approach paper, steering committees and working groups are set up for reviewing the progress in the implementation of the 5-year plan and for making recommendations regarding policies, programs, projects and schemes, as also for outlays and targets for the various sectors and subsectors. Members of the steering committee and working groups are drawn from officials in the Planning Commission, central ministries and departments, academic institutions, state governments and specialists from business and industry and experts from relevant fields. D. Publication of the draft plan. The Planning Commission formulates a draft plan in consultation with the various ministries or economic councils. Similarly, at the bottom, individual perspective plans on the basis of past experiences and future requirements is prepared. The Planning Commission assesses the balances of technical possibilities, recommendations, suggestions and requirements in the light of reports given by two agencies, one from the top and the other from the bottom. The draft plan is a considerable elaboration of the earlier documents. It is intended to give more content to the plan envisages for different sectors and to bring out the main issues of policy and objectives and the approach which is proposed to be adopted. The draft plan is prepared in Planning Commission, is commented upon in draft by the various ministries and central government and is considered in the central cabinet before being submitted to National Development Council. With the approval of the council, the draft plan is published as a document for the widest public discussion and considerations. Comments are invited from all sections of opinion. State governments arrange for the draft plan to be discussed thoroughly at the district level by district development councils and other bodies. According to the practice which is now well developed, at the national level, both houses of parliament arrange for discussions of the draft plan. First in a general way for a few days at a time and then in greater details through a series of parliamentary committees which individual members are free to join and whose proceedings eventually form part of the parliamentary record. While the draft plan is under discussion throughout the country, the Planning Commission, in association with the ministries at the center, holds detailed discussions regarding the plan of individual states. These involved a study of their financial projections, proposal for raising additional resources, and their detailed plan of development in different sectors. With each state, the discussions are held both at the expert level and at the political level. The final conclusions being reached in consultation with the Chief Minister of individual states. These conclusions are regarded as understandings between the Planning Commission and the states. For the size and composition of each state's plan, the main targets and programs to be fulfilled and obligations undertaken by the center to provide a given quantum of financial assistance, and by each state to find its share of resources and observe the agreed priorities. On the basis of detailed discussion with the states, comments from different sources, and the more detailed recommendations from various working groups and panels, the Planning Commission submits a fresh memorandum to the Central Cabinet and the National Development Council, in which it begins together the principal features of the plan, the policy directions to be stressed, and the issues which may require further consideration. The conclusions reached on the 5-year plan. This detailed report outlining the objectives, policies, programs and projects in the plan is again commented upon in draft by the ministries at the center and by the state governments, and is finally submitted to the Cabinet and National Development Council. With the approval of the Council, the report is published and presented to Parliament, usually by the Prime Minister. After discussions lasting for several days, each House of Parliament accords its general approval to the plan and gives a call to the nation for its implementation and for the achievement of the objectives and targets embodied in it. E. Finalization of the final plan. A draft outline of the 5-year plan is prepared keeping in view observations made by the National Development Council and is published several months before the plan is to come into force. This is presented before the Parliament for discussion and later on sent to different central ministries, state bodies and other institutions. The final draft is a comprehensive, coherent and well knit document. Then final report is prepared and presented before the Cabinet, National Development Council and finally before the Parliament for approval. The Planning Commission, even after its final approval, studies and examines various aspects from time to time and modifies the plan into annual plans. During the month of November or December of each year, there are a series of consultations between the Commission and central and state ministries for reviewing the progress and making further reassessment of resources, technical possibilities of adjustment and readjustment of targets and requirements of annual plan for the next year. These are a series of consultations between the Commission and the central and state ministries for reviewing the progress and making further reassessment of resources and technical possibilities of adjustment and readjustment of targets and requirements of the annual plan for the next year. Thus, annual plan is introduced with a much needed flexibility in the implementation of final 5-year plan. 2. Plan implementation. It should be noted here that the Commission is an advisory body and has no executive functions. It is only a national organ for plan formulation and a staff body to advise the cabinet. The task of implementation is left to the union ministries and state governments. It is in this field that efforts have been made to introduce the two concepts of democratic decentralization and popular participation, particularly after the introduction of the Panchayati Raj in the country. As an advisory body of the Planning Commission, assist both the central government and state governments. Its advice is given invariably after consultation with the agencies concerned and as a general practice. It takes the forms of mutually agreed conclusions. Perhaps the most important aspect of the planning structure that has developed in India over the years is that responsibility of planning is widely shared, that those who are charged with the duty of execution also plan, but do so within a framework and on premises indicated by the Planning Commission, with the approval of the Central Cabinet and the National Development Council. At no point is the planning isolated from the responsibility of implementation, nor is implementation viewed as an independent responsibility which may be pursued in disregards of the conditions laid down in the context of planned development. The Planning Commission observes how far the basic social and economic objectives are being achieved and endeavor to consider problems in each sector from the point of view of economy as a whole. In India, supervision is done by the planning agency or a special agency. The program evaluation organization, which is an impartial body, supervises the plans. Plan evaluation. As per the requirement of the various divisions of the Planning Commission and ministries and departments of government, evaluation is the last of the three stages in the process. One of the function of the Commission is to appraise from time to time the progress achieved in the execution of each stage of the plan and make recommendations for necessary adjustments. The Commission makes such appraisal through 1. Monthly reports of selected projects, quarterly reviews of the working of the plan and annual progress reports obtained from the union ministries and the state governments. The advisors who visit the states with their charge and study at first hand the working of the development programs and through the machinery of the committee of the plan projects. In addition, there is the program evaluation organization set up in 1952. The program evaluation organization PEO undertakes evaluation of selected programs and schemes under implementation of India. The evaluation studies are designed to assess the performance, process of implementation, effectiveness of the delivery system and impact of program. The program evaluation organization with functions as an independent unit of the Commission. Features of planning process in India. Indian planning has certain well-known features. These may be stated as follows. Decentralized machinery. In India, we have a decentralized process of planning. For instance, planning machine is three ties: the center, state and district planning bodies. These bodies are closely associated with the formulation as well as implementation of the plans. Democratic character. Another pioneer feature is its democratic nature. No doubt, various plans are prepared by experts, but at the same time adequate opportunities are provided to people to actively participate at various levels. Being federal structure of the Indian Constitution, the Union government only uses its fiscal, monetary and physical controls to guide and direction in consonance with the 5-year plans. Only an advisory role of Planning Commission. In the decentralized setup of planning, Planning Commission is the apex body. It provides the necessary perspective guidance and coordination. Furthermore, it serves the close link between different agencies so that functioning may be smooth. In this regard, Planning Commission is of an advisory character. Essentially a framework plan. One more distinguishing feature is that Indian plans are essentially a framework plan. It has laid down the major parameters and fixed targets at the center and in the states, in the districts and the blocks. It has considerable autonomy in programming and also in its operations. Continuous process. By the virtue of its process, Indian plans are a continuous character. The Planning Commission prepares a perspective plan which is divided into 5-year plans and have a certain medium of continuity from one plan period to another plan. Summary. These are the steps by which a 5-year plan takes shape. A great deal of the discussion is necessary of a public nature, widely shared and involved large groups in every part of the country and in each branch of the national life. By the time the plan emerges in its final form, it has already met its critics halfway, assimilated to a large extent the constructive thinking thrown up in the course of the debate and gained a degree of general acceptance for its assumptions, objectives, priorities and major features, which is in fact the principal moral and social sanction for its subsequent implementation. Responsibility for its execution rests with the ministers at the center and with the governments of states. The Planning Commission continues to watch and report on its implementation, assist the central and state executive agencies to the extent necessary, advise on changes and adjustments and otherwise help ensure that the basis of economic and fiscal policies are in conformity with the requirements of the plan and that its social goals and long range objectives are at no stage lost sight of. In formulating the 5-year plan, the Planning Commission coordinates and oversees the development programs of the central ministries and state ministries and integrates these in a national plan covering both the public and private sectors. Specific schemes of financing are worked out for the center and each state, indicating clearly the additional resources, mobilization, efforts that they would have to undertake. These are integrated with the overall scheme of flow of funds for the economy as a whole. At the center, the role of the Planning Commission in investment planning is crucial as the Commission provides an objective method of resource allocation, reconciling claims of various ministries, taking into account the broad national objectives and priorities. Similarly, the Commission seeks to ensure through the annual plans, which are the operational plans, that the sum total of outlays of the center and the state is consistent with the estimates of resources available to the public economy. The plan outlays in both the public and private sectors are matched by resources in order to ensure orderly growth in conditions of relative stability without introducing any distortions in investment or the production pattern. The process of planning in India is quite remarkable in character, which has centralized in its formulation, decentralized in its implementation, directive in the public sector, indicative in the private sector. This planned economy in fact aims at a progressive and socialistic pattern of economy. Replacing the 5-year plans beyond 31st March 2017, Niti Aayog is in the process of preparing 15-year long vision document, keeping in view the social goals set and proposed for the period of 15 years. A 7-year strategy document spanning 2017-18 to 2023-24 to convert the long term vision into implementable policy and action as a part of a national development agenda is also being worked upon. The 3-year action agenda for 2017-18 to 2019-20 aligned to the predictability of financial resources during the 14th Finance Commission award period has been completed and submitted before the Prime Minister on April 23rd at 3rd Governing Council meeting. The sum up, the process of planning in India is quite remarkable in character, which has centralized its formulation, decentralized in its implementation, directive in public sector, indicative in private sector. This planned economy in fact aims at a progressive and socialistic pattern of economy.